You're listening to the E2C Network, podcast by Auburn fans for Auburn fans. War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to Inside the Jungle, your source for Auburn men's basketball analysis and discussion here on the E2C Network. On this episode, we're going to be breaking down, sadly, an Auburn Tigers loss to the Kentucky Wildcats in Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky. The final score of the game was 80-82 in the Wildcats' favor, dropping Auburn's overall record to 500 on the year at 11-11 and falling in their SEC record as well, 5-8 now on the year. We're going to talk about the action, the storylines, and the stats from this game. And to do that, I brought in my friend and my co-host, Mr. Gray Oldenburg. Gray, how does it feel to still be in a 33-year losing streak?
Horrible. I'm back, though. I'm back.
It's, it's one of those things. It's kind of like it's Kentucky, at least. So you kind of accept it. That you're losing to Kentucky on their home court, so it's kind of one of those things that's not like you're unproud of or not. I don't know what word I'm looking for, honestly. There, it's just this weird thing. We're at the point in this program's history where this should have been broken already, but for some reason we just can't get this monkey off our back. I mean, is there just some kind of voodoo curse that Rupp Arena has over us?
I think so. It's the same way with Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. Football.
I was about to say, you're going to bring some football stuff in this? I don't know that the football fans can last 33 years of losing in Tiger Stadium, but it is.
Oh, no. We have to break that this year. Marston's breaking that this year.
Here's the thing. I am already accepting that he's going to lose, not because I want him to because I'm preparing.
Yeah, me too.
This is what happens. Like, I don't get how Auburn fans don't understand this. You need to go ahead and anticipate them doing what you don't want them to do, and then it's
going to happen.
It's going to happen at some point. Yeah. And then when you're surprised, it's even better. But anyway, this is a basketball show. This is not a football show. Let's get back into that, discussing this game. Just going to talk about general notes around the program. The only major thing here is, we're still without Justin Powell. The main thing that I want to bring up with this, though, Gray, is we talked a lot about throughout the season about how he kind of rose to the occasion while Sharif Cooper was not available to play at the beginning of the year and was really, had vaulted up the charts of the NBA draft. And, the big storyline with him was he was passed over by Kentucky, being the number one recruit from the state of Kentucky, and didn't even hardly get a look at him. And so was picked up by Coach Pearl. How awesome would it have been to watch him play here?
Oh, it was great. And it was what we were all looking forward to when we saw Justin kind of break off into the scene at the beginning of the year. We were like, man, what he's going to do to Kentucky is going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. But, continued thoughts and prayers for him and his recovery. We hope to see him back, maybe not this season, but as soon as possible.
Yeah, I continue to doubt that we'll see him this season at this point. I mean, there's 5 games left in the season, unless he's just 100% ready to go and just wants to be out there with his boys and get a chance to play with Sharif Cooper, because that's still up in the air. I am no doctor by any stretch of the imagination, but I would just say let the guy sit out the rest of the year and get his, literally his head straight and get that all figured out and shored up so he can be available next year. But that's the main stuff around the program we want to talk about. Let's get into discussions about this game today. For those of you that weren't able to watch or listen live, basically how the game broke down was this. The first half, AU came out with a lot of momentum, was on fire. Kentucky actually had a tough time scoring at the very beginning of this, but they made a few runs back. Auburn was able to hold them off, maintaining the lead 36-30 going into the half. However, don't know what John Calipari said. Don't know if there was some more money passed around, but UK came out on fire. And they got the lead back and wouldn't let it go, although Auburn did erase a major deficit to bring it down to a 2-point loss at the very end of the game, and Auburn had an opportunity to potentially tie it or take the lead. But ultimately, they do take the loss, 80-82 on the road in Rupp Arena. You and I talked a lot about this game, Gray, at the beginning of the season was probably a CBS executive's delight in terms of having Auburn in Kentucky in primetime. Ultimately, not really big implications for the college basketball world at this point for both of these teams, but it was still a great game.
Yeah, definitely was. Definitely, like you said, didn't live up to the preseason expectations of what we thought both of these teams would be. But I think it did live up to a great game, though.
Now, I don't know if you saw this graphic because it was technically before tip off. So if you did, or if you didn't see it, correct me if I'm wrong here. But, it was just weird because they were breaking down the top 16 seeds for potentially for the tournament. And the only SEC teams that I believe were in there were Alabama, Tennessee, and Missouri. How weird is it to not see Kentucky in there, first of all, but Auburn in there as well?
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. It's great that we have to be able to say that, wow, no Auburn in the top 16 of the NCAA tournament. That's kind of weird. That's awesome to say,
Right.
but yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
The thing that I find about this is
2021.
it is. We thought 2020 was weird enough. 2021, I give you Kentucky and Auburn are both the bottom of the SEC, and we're fighting to make sure they could get out of the cellar. Unfortunately, Kentucky does, in some essences, get out of the cellar, and Auburn kind of remains down there in the bottom quad or tier of the SEC right now. They don't seem like it, to be honest with you. They just can't get some things right on the road or kind of have a bad game here or there, but they don't seem like they're as bad as their record looks. But maybe we'll talk a little bit about that here. I think the story of the night, Gray, is turnovers. This was something that was plaguing Auburn at the very beginning of the season. And it got, I don't want to say better, but manageable throughout the middle of the year at times. Tonight, Auburn gives up 17 turnovers. Now, Kentucky gave away 13 as well. So that's big numbers for both these teams and probably why they're both struggling against everybody else. But you can't win a basketball game when you're having this many turnovers on the road. I mean, I was very frustrated with the first half play because of that.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me too. That you look at those team stats and the team comparison of the stats, and you're like, you don't see big breakers of why Kentucky won or why Auburn lost. So I really did come down to those plus 4 turnovers, those 17 turnovers caused tonight were huge.
Yeah, I think you probably could look and find some other arguments, but when you're on the road and you're giving up opportunities for the home team to take advantage of what little home court advantage you have in a COVID-19 year, or pandemic extension, whatever you want to call it, whatever we're dealing with these days now. But when you give up those opportunities, freebies at home to someone, those are going to come back to bite you. And while it wasn't like just the worst possible turnover situation, it wasn't great in and of itself. Another thing that Kentucky did very good that they did in the last game with us is they shut down Sharif Cooper. They were the ones that kind of figure out if you go up and double team him, and everybody started modeling that, you kind of get him a little bit flustered, force him into some situations, or the rest of the team doesn't know how to respond to help him out. That's changed since then. Tonight, they shut him down a couple of different ways here. But what did you think about Sharif's play overall tonight?
Sharif didn't play bad. I think Sharif's got to get better at finishing at the rim. Every time he went to the rim, he got a shot blocked tonight or this afternoon. His vision's there. We're starting to see flashes of a jump shot being there, maybe a mid-range jumper, but he's got to start being able to finish through contact and through those 7-footers and 6'11" and 6'10" guys, because that's what you're going to see at the next level.
And see, I don't disagree with you that he needs to finish better the rim, but he was so oversized. And I felt like at times personally, he made poor decisions to take it to the hole instead of taking it and then dishing it before he gets too deep into it. I don't know. I'm just kind of reading into the situation here. I felt like at times maybe he felt like he had something to prove against the SEC powerhouse and wanted to kind of, look, you passed over me in a sense too. You didn't come after me either. And I just feel like there's that chip on his shoulder that kind of got in the way of him making some smarter decisions than he normally would. And you did see his shot get blocked tonight. I think Kentucky had about 10 blocks tonight. They beat out Auburn by 2 with 8 blocks for Auburn. But I would imagine I can count at least 4, if not 5 of those that were Sharif Cooper running to the basket and getting his shot stuffed tonight. And, this game ended with a very fast finish, an opportunity for Auburn to win the game. And you even noticed that he missed JT Thor down low for the game. Where was that situation setting up?
When you have a guy like you just said, a guy that wants to prove something against in an opposing arena against an SEC powerhouse. I think we saw that with number 10, JT Thor tonight. He played spectacular. Everything was going right for JT Thor tonight. And Sharif on that down 3, 20 seconds left, drive to the right side where he tried to get fouled and finish, and he got blocked. JT was wide open, and he's 5 of 6 from 3. He's playing the best game he's played of his entire young career. I think you got to see that, and I think you got to ditch that.
Yeah, I think that was a situation that, obviously the hot hand at that time is JT. So you kind of want to give it to him because at times it's been Sharif. Let him do what he does. But tonight it definitely wasn't that, even though he scores 14 points tonight. So it's not a bad mark for him tonight overall. By most player standards, they'd be ecstatic with that. But the guy that you wanted to hit tonight was JT Thor. Let me run through his stat line for everybody. 24 points, 8 for 11 from the field, 5 for 6 from the three-point arc, 3 for 3 from the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, only 3 personal fouls, and only 1 turnover in 27 minutes of time. Mind you, that is one of the lower ends of the starters here. You got 36 minutes of time for Sharif Cooper. You've got 31 for Flanagan. So he's not even seen the most time out there on the floor, and he did the most with it. What was most impressive for you tonight about JT Thor?
That shot has gotten so much better. His mechanics, you can tell he's worked on his mechanics. I saw him multiple times. I saw videos of him in high school trying to shoot, and I was like, I don't know if that guy's going to be a good shooter with that kind of shooting mechanics at the next level. You can tell him and this Auburn coaching staff has really worked on him being a stretch 5, a stretch 4 shooter at the SEC level, and it really showed to fruition tonight.
Do you get worried at all that we might lose a JT Thor instead of a Sharif Cooper?
If there's, I heard somebody say, we might have just lost JT Thor tonight, but regained Sharif Cooper for the next season.
I don't know that I like those odds.
I don't know if I like that either.
I'm not saying that anything about, I want Sharif Cooper back because clearly we need someone to be a point guard next year as well at this point. But I just don't want to lose either of them. It's one thing if we could get those guys together and say, look who's coming in and look who you have here currently. If y'all can just give up 1 year, that's all I'm asking. Now y'all probably going to all exit together and leave us in completely dire straits at the end of everything. But just give us 1 year where we actually can go to the postseason play. That's all I'm asking. Because, it's getting to a point here, it's not uncommon for Sharif Cooper to have an outstanding game, but you've got other players that are doing that as well, like a JT Thor or a Jalen Williams. And when you have a group of players that are capable of doing this and they combine their efforts together, that makes for a pretty good opportunity for Auburn to have some pretty successful nights in the future. We're going to take a quick break from this episode for a special announcement. One of the things that we take great pride here at the E2C Network are our listeners, or really our E2C Network family. Now, I know they enjoy listening to us, but let's be honest, every once in a while, they probably would like a little bit of change of pace. Well, that's where you come in if you're a business owner. If you have any interest in partnering with us in terms of ads or sponsorships on our podcast episodes, you can reach us at e2cnetwork@gmail.com. Let us help you reach the widest variety of Auburn fans out there. I mean, come on. Who else listens to a network where they cover everything from Auburn football to The Bachelor and the connections it has with Auburn? Utilize our podcast, Facebook Live shows, and other flexible partnership opportunities that are available upon request. Let us help you reach the E2C Network family and the Auburn family at large on how you might best be able to serve them. Reach out to us at e2cnetwork@gmail.com for more information. That's all we have for you in this special message. Let's get back into the episode. Let's talk about Alan Flanagan. We've been a little bit more, not critical, but, questioning of some things that he's been doing lately. But he has in my opinion, at least from what I was seeing, a very quiet 23-point night. Where did he come out of nowhere? What happened to him tonight?
My dad, I was watching with my dad today, and he always says, I would get frustrated at Alan. He'd be like, go look at his stats. And I would look at his stats, and he would be our leading scorer and our leading rebounder. And I was like, how does that even make any sense? Like he's frustrating me. Like he's not doing this or not doing that. but no, he's one of those guys that finds a way to get the ball in the basket, finds a way to get those rebounds, finds a way to defend well, and he played a much better game tonight.
Well, and he was much needed tonight in a night where Sharif Cooper was struggling. And that's the beauty of having so much talent. And when someone's struggling a little bit, the other one steps up here. Do you think maybe Allen almost made it too easy for us to think too much of him at the beginning of the season because he had such a great start to the year? Or do we expect too much of him?
I don't know. That's a good question. He's, that beginning of the year, he climbed up in the first round of NBA mock drafts, and it was like, seriously? But, he's young. He's very, very talented. Don't get me wrong. He's extremely talented, and his potential could be that late NBA first round type of pick. And then you saw at the beginning of the year, you saw that. We saw that kind of player. And I just think for him, it's consistency. He's got to be more consistent on both ends of the floor. Mm-hmm. And that just comes with time and experience.
And I think that's the thing that separates him from a guy like JT Thor, who, while he's not putting up 20-point games every single night, he's been consistent in terms of his contributions, whereas Allen's had an opportunity to fall off. And it's really been more decision-making for him. And I think he kind of gets a little, I won't call it overconfident, but thinks maybe he can do a little bit more than, not that he's capable, but that the situation calls for, I think is the best way tonight. But tonight wasn't one of those nights, because between him and JT Thor, we wouldn't have a game tonight if they don't do what they do. His stat line for the night is pretty impressive as well. 23 points, 8 for 13 from the field, only 1 for 5 from the 3-point arc, but 6 for 6 of 7 from the free throw line. 5 rebounds for him, only 2 personal fouls. He did have 5 turnovers. So if we are going to nitpick a little bit, we probably need to put that in his column as well. Although he wasn't the worst defender tonight, that was Sharif Cooper, oddly enough. On a night where Sharif Cooper has given up 6 turnovers, that is not going to be a good night for the Auburn Tigers. Another area to look at here, bench points, something we've been talking about a lot. 8 for Auburn, 20 for Kentucky. Your thoughts on how the bench performed tonight?
We lost a lot when JT and Allen and Sharif and even Jalen Williams at times came off the floor. We saw Kentucky go on runs, even on the defensive end. We're talking about bench points. That's just on the offensive end, but even on the defensive end, you saw Kentucky really show their depth tonight, and it hurt us bad.
That hurt us, but also in the second half when they went on their run and suddenly with well over 10 minutes left in the game, they're in the
about the officials now.
They're in the bonus, the officials, the fouling. So I want you to kind of have your moment here, because I think you're ready to talk about it here. In your honest opinion, take your orange and blue glasses off for just a second. Okay. Was it more Auburn putting themselves in bad situation and making bad choices, or were there just bad calls? But I want you to be honest.
I think there were bad no calls.
Okay.
I think there were bad no calls on the Auburn offensive end. Sharif Cooper is a guy that is averaging like 11 free throw attempts a game. And for him to go to the free throw line 0 times, that many times, when it's not like he was jacking up threes the whole game. He was attacking the basket.
Yeah.
But for him to go to the line 0 times, and the foul count in the second half, in the first half, it wasn't as bad, but the second half, maybe it was the Calipari technical that kind of switched things. Mm-hmm. So there may have been a little momentum switch. Maybe the Bruce technical switched things. But I mean, it was a tale of 2 halves with these officials. Sharif he's a superstar. I don't understand how he doesn't get those calls.
So here's the thing that I look at this from watching the game and looking at the way Sharif made some choices to go into the lane. I don't think that he should have had too many of those fouls called in his favor, but I do think he should have had some. And that's the problem that I have here. What you brought up, 0 free throw attempts. That means he never got fouled. You're going to tell me one time a guy of his size did not get fouled as many times as he went down low?
And he's a superstar.
Right.
It's not like it's like the LeBron thing. People complain about how LeBron and these James Harden, for example, get calls in their favor all the time because they want to see them go to the line. They want to see them get points. They want to see the superstars succeed. But Sharif is probably the best point guard in the country, and he got 0 attempts against Kentucky.
Yeah, that's not something that this referee wants to have a mark on them at the end of this game. They're probably kind of looking at each other and scratching their heads like nobody could find a foul on this guy because, I mean, it had to have happened at some point. But, you know, and that's probably one of the areas you can look at here for why Auburn wasn't able to get the win tonight, because they're 90% from the free throw line, which normally Kyle loves, but that's only 9 of 10. And normally we're shooting somewhere in the 20 range, close to that in free throw attempts. So if that's a 90% with almost 20 attempts, I'm a very happy guy tonight. But when you don't have that many opportunities to go, especially on the road, you're giving up turnovers like that in a away situation, it's not going to end up in your favor all that much. So there are a lot of things to be frustrated about this game tonight. Refs, decisions by players overall. The point of the matter is that the Kentucky streak still stands at 33 years of never winning in Rupp Arena. We'll have to wait at least another year if they give us an opportunity to play there next year. So they can hold that over our heads just a little bit longer, but I have a feeling that'll go down sooner rather than later. It's basically one of the few streaks left that Bruce Pearl hasn't taken care of, so he's bound to do it at some point. But we'll put this one away and hopefully not be too frustrated about it going forward. We still got some basketball left to play in this season. The next game is against the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and it's very ironic because you're basically seeing the exact same team across from you. This team is also 11-11 on the year and also 5-8 in the SEC. The game will be played at 8 p.m. Central Time this Tuesday, the 16th, and you can watch it on ESPNU, a very late game. So they're coming off a loss to Vanderbilt. And let me set this up for you. This isn't just a loss to Vanderbilt. This is a shellacking by Vanderbilt. They lost 51-72 at home. How does that make you feel, Gray?
Well, as a fan of the team that's about to play, I'm pretty excited. They're very inconsistent. This Mississippi State team is very inconsistent. They've shown flashes of being good, but they've shown flashes like they did against Vanderbilt of just not being competitive at all against the team that they should be competitive at least with. But we'll see.
Here's something that may not make you feel better. Number 13 Missouri at home, and they've also beaten Florida at home. Does that worry you at all? That wasn't earlier in the SEC play, though.
That proves my point of them being inconsistent, showing who they beat and then who they've lost to.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just find out what Mississippi State team shows up to play Auburn on Tuesday.
And the favor, obviously, being in Auburn here, being in Auburn Arena, you would hope that kind of works in their favor. If they get into some bad situations, they'll have the crowd, what little it is, behind them and to feel a little bit more comfortable at home. So it really is going to be a tale of which team, which basically, record-wise, kind of the way their season is going alongside ours, it feels the exact same way. Who is going to make the move to finish strong after this game and probably get the win here to have a good end to the year and a bad end of the year? And Auburn really needs it. And let me just go ahead and preface this because we're not taking this for granted. We did that one time, and we're having to take the blame for that loss that came from that. But I'm going to say this with humongous air quotes I'm doing right now. You can't see because it's a podcast. This is Auburn's last easy game. We're not even going to look ahead and talk about those games yet because what a murderer's row we have to go up against. Yep. I don't know that Auburn's going to have a better opportunity to get off on the right foot the rest of the season. So would you consider this a last easy game?
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah, it's pretty tough what we've got coming up here going forward. So hopefully we'll get the win in Auburn Arena. A couple players for everybody to watch in this game. DJ Stewart, the sophomore guard, 17 points, 0 points per game. And Tolu, I think that's how you say his name, Tolu Smith, sophomore forward, 8.5 rebounds per game. So they got some guys putting up some pretty good stats, but overall the team seems to be struggling. Kind of seems the same situation there for Auburn as well. So we'll see which team comes out on top and who wants to finish strong in the SEC and make sure that they stay out of the cellar of the conference as well. That's all we have for you in this episode. Before we get out of here, where can they find you on social media if they want to talk to you, Gray?
Yeah, find me on Twitter at Gray Oldenburg or on Instagram at Gray021.
And you can find me on Twitter as well at TigerEye24. Thank y'all so much for listening to this episode of Inside the Jungle. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle. Before you get out of here, we want to remind you of a couple of things. Head over to e2cnetwork.com, our website where you can find everything that you'll ever need from us, podcasts, blogs, and even ways to help support the show. If you want to find individual episodes, you can download all of these on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. So until we see you again, I want to remind you of one thing, that here at the network, we believe in Auburn and love it. The only question remains, do you?